Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Onita and welcome to my August wrap-up. I read 10 books in August and let us talk about them. I will say that all the books I have read, there is a reading vlog dedicated to it. In the month of August I decided to read only cozy books and let me say it was a success. It was so good. I had one DNF, but in all honesty I really don't think it was a cozy book, so I don't know why when I was doing my research on cozy books that the book in particular I'm talking about made it on the list. It was a success. So if you want to know more about my thoughts about it, I will have the reading vlog linked in the video and in the description down below if you want to check that out. The first book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. It follows Linus Baker. He is the way I look at it, he works for the government. He goes around to all of these orphanages and makes sure that the directors of the orphanages, of these homes, and he also makes sure that these kids are being treated fairly and that there's nothing bad going on, that they're not abused. And his job is to say, yes, this home or orphanage can stay open, no, this one has to close, because kids are treated absolutely poorly and the conditions are just absolutely the worst. Linus Baker is tasked with going to this island where the Antichrist, the child of the Antichrist, is said to live there. So he's going to go there, check it out, make sure that nothing is amiss. I gave this book 4 stars. It was absolutely heartwarming. So beautiful. I don't want to say too much about this book because I do feel like, and this is kind of my little issue with cozy books, I feel like there's not really much to talk about because most cozy books I feel tend to gravitate more towards like focusing more on the characters and the plot. The plot is very light when it comes to cozy books, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but what I will say, some things were a little predictable. Well, one thing in particular was a little bit predictable. I don't know if it was because I was watching so many reviews of this book when everyone was seemingly reading this at the same time. I did feel like there was one thing in this book that did feel a little bit predictable for me. Like, it's not necessarily such a bad thing if you predict something right. Like, it just depends on how it's written. I do believe that. And this book was written really good as well. I had no issue with the writing. It flowed good. I gelled with it. I vibed with it. I actually found that there were quite a few themes and messages of working for corporate jobs and how soul-sucking they can be, and that life is more than just working a dull, boring job. If you have a dream, go for it, kind of thing. I did talk about this in the reading vlog and I will say it here as well. A lot of messages were often repeated. There was strong messages to like, don't judge a book by its cover, and people are more than what they appear to be upon first impression, and that was repeated again and again and again, and it got a bit boring for me. Like, my enjoyment with that fluctuated a little bit between, oh yeah, this is really good, really beautifully said and all that kind of stuff, but then it kind of got to a point as well where I was kind of like, can you say something else please? I found the romance between some of the characters, or with one couple in particular, I found it to be a little bit lacking. I wanted another perspective and not just the perspective be one-sided. I needed more from the romance. I really did. I didn't really feel the chemistry because, like I said, it was just a little bit one-sided. I think if we had have gotten a dual point of view of the other character that is involved in this love interest kind of thing, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more, the romance that is. Apart from my negative little nitpicky things with this book, I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely will be reading more from TJ Klune in the future. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. It follows Viv. She is a battle-weary orc and she is going to put down her weapons. She's going to go into retirement and she is going to open up a little coffee shop or a cafe. I gave this book 4 stars and it was so good. The writing was very well done. The descriptions of coffee and pastries and the descriptions of what the cafe or what the coffee shop looked like was so vivid. So I could imagine myself in there. It made me want to visit coffee shops around my city. Absolutely adored the characters. There was a strong theme of found family and newly formed friendships, and also like a bit of a slow burn romance that was happening that I kind of wanted a little bit more of. I absolutely loved seeing how Viv got to build her business from the ground up, how she hired someone to help her build her coffee shop, how she created her menu, how she expanded upon her business, hiring people, ordering ingredients and picking up the ingredients. There is a bit of a side plot that I feel like really enhanced the story for me. There was this kind of crime boss or mafia group that was kind of circulating around Viv, and the outcome was different than I was expecting, but also it kind of left it hanging open, like this group is still around, something bad could still happen in a way. And something else that it does as well that I really love is it talks about ancient magic, the myths, the legends, what is the actual truth. One of the things about this cozy reading vlog that I wanted to get out of was that I wanted to see the good in people. I wanted to see some hope in humanity. I wanted to know that there was still good in the world, and this book did that. When I was doing my research on cozy books, this one came as a bit of a surprise for me. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is not a cozy book by all means. It's hard-hitting. I did DNF it at page 77. I usually leave it to the page 100 mark before I decide whether to DNF it or just to keep moving on with it. And I DNF'd it because it just wasn't gelling with me. I should probably tell you what it's about, shouldn't I? Eleanor Oliphant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence except sometimes everything. Yeah, it did not vibe with me. I had no issues with the writing. I had no issues with Eleanor. I do think she has Asperger's, and it wasn't really specified properly whether she does or doesn't, whether her personality is actually her Asperger's, but Asperger's isn't a personality, it's a syndrome, isn't it? I think it's like a syndrome, I think. Don't quote me 100% on that. Eleanor Oliphant has definitely been through something traumatic in her childhood, you can definitely tell that, and I think you will find out what she went through as she is healing. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be the case because I DNF'd it, so I don't really know. When it comes to books, I don't know whether I want to continue on with. I do find spoilers for it, just so I know how it ends. When it comes to books I want to power through, and books I know I will want to finish, I don't. I try to avoid them as much as possible. Yeah, overall it just wasn't for me. It did not gel with it, so it's going in the unhaul pile. It's going bye-bye. And I read the first 7 volumes of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo, and oh my gosh, I am so in my manga era right now. It's amazing right now. It follows Twilight, who is a spy. He is on a mission to stop this guy from creating another war between the East and the West nations. This bad guy that Twilight is going to stop has a son in a school called Eden Academy. Twilight needs a fake family to infiltrate this academy to get close to this bad guy's son, to then get close to the father so that Twilight can stop this bad guy. So his fake family, he adopts a young little girl named Anya who is a telepath. She can read minds, and Yor is an assassin. So they make quite an entertaining family, and I loved it. All of the volumes that I read up on like 1 to 7, I gave 4 stars out of 5. So heartwarming, light, funny. It's really good. Oh my god, and cute and heartwarming. There were some scenes I was like, oh my god, it's so cute. It does talk a little bit about the spy agency and how Twilight, like the agency that Twilight is a part of, how they are so understaffed, and how Twilight will often have to pick up extra missions just to help them, to help the agency, because this world is a very dangerous place for spies, and I'm assuming also for assassins. There are secret police everywhere. SSS they are, Secret Service or something like that, I can't remember. But they are everywhere. And if the SSS finds out who you are, if you're a spy or an assassin, that's like bad news for you. There are some level of stakes, some level of danger in this series, but it's not too over the top, which is really, really good for me, because I do not want to be reading anything dark or anything with a very high danger level for any of the characters. I just wanted something light and cute and fluffy. There does seem to be a bit of a history between the East and the West. There did seem to be this war that happened between them, and we do get little glimpses of it. I don't know if the further you read the series or the further you get into the series, the more you will find out about it, or the more you will find out what actually happened in the first time the East and West had this conflict. I don't know if we'll get to see that. I'm hoping we do. It is there. It is something that is talked about. There are characters that we get introduced to in some volumes, and they have issues. They have some serious issues, and it also creates an issue for this mission that Twilight is on. I will say another thing as well is that I noticed that it did get a little bit repetitive. See, I don't know which volume, but in the beginning volumes it did feel a bit repetitive with the introduction to the characters, because it felt like at the start of each volume it was like reintroducing you to the characters, and we already know the characters. We've already been established with them in like the first volume. After like the first few volumes it doesn't do that anymore. And also I feel like the first few chapters or the first few volumes for me, yeah, the missions they were on were a little shorter. It also felt like it took me a long time to read. Like the longer missions that Twilight and also Yor were on, like their own missions, those longer ones that they were on, I felt like I read more quicker than the shorter volumes. So I really like their individual longer missions. And yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I love this series. It's so good. I can't wait to watch the anime. It's adorable. It's cute. And thank you very much for watching. Like I have said, I will leave a link in the description and also in the video if you want to check out that reading vlog. And I will see you in another video. So goodbye for now.